how much money you have in the bank. Not the car you drive. Not the contents of your wallet. Or not your fucking khakis. You're the all sinning, all dancing crap of the world.
Have you ever heard of TylerDurden? Everything is a copy of a copy of a copy. This is how our protagonist starts to see this empty world where nothing happens, nothing is important, everything is plastic, something fake. The narrator wakes up every day to his artificial life in the office, where everyone dresses the same way, does the same work, drinks the same things. His life is simply passing by without any purpose or reason. He is a slave to the corporate world. This is his life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. His body can't take this internal conflict anymore, making it impossible for him to sleep. He's never fully awake. To understand what real pain is, the narrator seeks out people who are in true despair, trying to feel something real in that empty world. By witnessing men with prostate cancer, he shares the pain of everyone there, including Bob, forming a connection with them. He lets go and breaks the cycle, becoming addicted to these meetings. Due to his job, constantly traveling, his life is full of shallow events and empty connections, small conversations with passengers, small cups of coffee, small packets of sugar. We live in this artificial world we've created where nothing has meaning and everything is shallow. Everything we experience, witness, and consume is plastic, and the narrator lives this over and over. This is his life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. However, we are introduced to TylerDurden, and this is where things get interesting. He is entirely different from the narrator. He has attitude, confidence to do what he wants, to say what he wants. The narrator, although he hates and feels disconnected from the modern world he lives in, does nothing and stays in it. Tyler takes action against it. He also lives in this plastic world, but fights against it. When they are talking in the bar, in one of my favorite scenes in the movie, they discuss consumerism. Tyler shows how we care about superficial things, how we are byproducts of a lifestyle that trades real problems like crime or poverty for celebrity magazines or TV with 500 channels. In a world where people care more about their Instagram photos or what to post on Twitter, Tyler reminds us that all this only makes men weak, disconnecting us from our hunter instincts. These artificial products are almost a mechanism of escape to live in such a false and unnatural world. To feel something, Tyler needs a jolt, something that brings him to the real world, so he asks the narrator to hit him.
What?
For Tyler, the only way out of this artificial world and finally waking up to reality is through pain and discomfort, something to remind us of our natural state, which makes us strong. That's why the two start fighting and why Tyler lives in a rundown house with dirty walls and water that looks like sewage. All this is aimed at breaking the narrator's addiction to comfort. Little by little, he gets used to this life outside modern standards. He no longer misses TV or cares about the material things he lost. He feels happy in the discomfort he was placed in, which makes him free to evolve, becoming more confident and aggressive, which is the natural state of man. Tyler and the narrator start influencing other men who, in the same way, feel disconnected from this empty world they have. Lost men with no perspective of future or meaningful life. Tyler acts as an antidote for these people. Through violence, he awakens these men to reality, creating an event, a group where they will all change.
You're just letting yourself become.
Each person in the group has their identity, where in the corporate world, people are copies of copies. There in that basement, they stand out from each other, are individuals in this group called Fight Club.
You do not talk about Fight Club.
The interesting thing to see is how discomfort and life outside this modern world change a man. After going through Fight Club, he no longer cares about shallow things. He doesn't dress properly at work, smokes in the office, and disrespects his boss. For all members, comfort is what makes a man weak. That's why the eighth and final rule is so important. The first step out of this artificial bubble is discomfort, and fighting is discomfort. It is pain, it is violence, and even so you embrace it to evolve. For me, the most important scene in the movie is when Tyler is making soap and uses a chemical to burn the narrator's hand. He says that without pain and sacrifice, we would have nothing. So accept the pain, especially when we lose everything. We are free to do anything. This part is important because it shows Tyler's vision and how it would change not only the narrator, but all those men in that group and even outside of it. What those people were missing, they found in Fight Club. They form real connections, where TylerDurden and the narrator receive recognition for their actions. The key to see is that Fight Club is gradually liberating what was repressed within these men. Do you know why Fight Club, released in 1999, is still much talked about today? Because it shows exactly what happens daily in our society, where we are all repressed in some way. Back in our grandparents' time, they had to face wars, diseases in a time when medicine wasn't even close to what we have today. Jobs with terrible equipment, many of them dangerous, a lifestyle that was not comfortable at all. And even so, they accepted that pain and could be themselves. No one to point out what they could or couldn't do, what they could or couldn't say. Back then, men had this hunting instinct at its peak, increasing competitiveness, building industries, creating new technologies, having deep connections with their families and communities. Today, most people live an artificial life, seeking immediate pleasure for small doses of dopamine. Men who spend fortunes on the internet for adult content, spending hours on social networks, creating shallow connections. Apps like TikTok or Instagram are made for you to waste as much time as possible while you could be doing something productive. Everything designed so a small group of shareholders can keep you weak. I've thought a lot about this and concluded that yes, it is true. How weak we men have become to the point of not being able to stand anything, not even jokes. In the past, everyone had their frustrations with work or the problems they faced in their lives, which is natural. However, back then, we had places that, although not Fight Club, allowed us the freedom to be who we are, or at least to relieve daily problems. We had freedom in bars, football stadiums, video games, entertainment in general. We could go to a stadium and curse the referee, the rival fans, and the players could do the same, provoking fans and even other players. That's why for me, the best era of Brazilian football was the 90s, with stars like Edmundo and Romario, known as bad boys. Even if there were fights, football wasn't meant to be pretty. When you curse the referee, deep down you are cursing your boss, your problems. Games were very violent, like Mortal Kombat, games where we do things we would never do in real life. But that's the point of these entertainments. A place, a time, where we can do everything we know we won't do. Play GTA and run over millions of NPCs, play bully and evoke all the artificiality of this modern world where everything has to be flowers. We live in a world where there is no discomfort, and it is necessary to please everyone, where every place needs to be safe, not to hurt anyone's feelings. Insults are no longer tolerated. People are so weak, they can't take any jokes and blame their failures and problems on others or even on past societies. A place where everything is fake. No one behaves naturally and authentically anymore. You are placed in a place where you can't talk about certain subjects because you will be silenced or even canceled for the most shallow reasons. Many accept this comfort, which makes men weak, so weak that they are stuck in a lifestyle and sometimes will fight against reality to protect this comfort. Silencing you so that they continue in this environment that protects them from having their precious feelings hurt. A society where men are weak creates hard times. I hope all this societal repression leads to the radicalization of the group. Tyler turns all the members into soldiers, making them go through immense discomfort, and if accepted, they become space monkeys ready to sacrifice themselves for a greater cause. Everyone goes through this process, practicing any kind of individuality they have, just like in the military, so they conform entirely with the group. Outside of that, they are nothing, they are not special. Fight Club started as a way to vent all the repression of modern society, but escalated into a group seeking revenge against this society. Many events occur because of this. People die, sacrifices in Project Mayhem. With all this madness, the narrator goes on a quest to find Tyler, going through all the places he went, seeing that he was creating franchises in every city. It's when the narrator discovers that through his internal conflicts and the repression he suffered, he is TylerDurden. Tyler is the part of him that was repressed all this time, what he needed to be to live the life he wanted. The whole movie is the journey of the narrator little by little becoming TylerDurden. It reached this point because the narrator is weak, and the only way to escape the shackles of society was by creating someone capable of going against all that. The animal part with the hunting instinct needed to bring about some change in his life. When we are repressing some feeling or frustration, it only tends to grow inside us. People telling you what you can or cannot do, what you can or cannot say, how to act, where injustice happens constantly and we have to accept it in silence. Small groups of people forcing us to accept all kinds of things. We are forced to be the ones who are sensible and act politely. There is a limit to how much we can swallow all this. It can reach a point where you will go insane. The much talked about cycle. Strong men create easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. However, it is something deeper than that. We are living in a natural cycle, but in a world where weak men benefit a certain group of people by keeping these powers, which goes against the natural. When all values are inverted and people are tired of this empty lifestyle without real connections, and all groups revolt, and when the TylerDurden inside you is unleashed, society will collapse.
They all sing and all dance across the world.
Have you ever heard of TylerDurden?